My name is Julie Gainey. I work with Define Learning. My role here is training and implementation. My goal really is to serve as a resource and a source of support for the teachers in the buildings that have access to the site. When we're done today, I will send Bo an email with all of my information. If you could forward that out to everybody, that way if you have any questions or any further needs, you can always reach out and contact me directly. A little bit about Define STEM. It's a web-based application. It's really been designed to promote rigorous and relevant connections really between classroom content, highlighting that STEM content, and real-world applications and careers. So Define STEM is all about project-based learning. All of our performance tasks will be always associated with a career so that the students can see the application of concepts into real-world situations. I'm going to go through the site. It'll take me about 30 minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to kind of show you how to navigate through the site as well as some functionality, how to edit the tasks, how to assign tasks to students. We have a very small group, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to speak up. Otherwise, at a few points throughout the presentation, I will see if anybody has any questions. Sound good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Hang on a second. And you guys can see my mouse moving, correct? Yes. All right, great. Okay, so this is the Define STEM landing page. This is where, and what I would recommend, I think I overheard Bo saying, you logged into your computers. I would recommend just kind of sitting back and watching. I have found from my experience in the past, if everybody tries to kind of follow along with me, it sometimes can become very difficult. Inevitably, somebody's computer will lag, or somebody, will click the wrong thing, and you'll end up, we end up all over the place. If you want to kind of browse, it's up to you, but I would recommend kind of just watching. So this is the Define STEM landing page, and I believe you all have received your access codes. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so you all know about the access codes. If you ever forget your username and password that you created, just give me a call or reach out to us, and we can retrieve that information or reset the password for you. Before I log in, I'm going to scroll down a little bit on this landing page. And do you all work with the Understanding by Design model in your buildings?
We have in the past.
Okay, so you're familiar with it. So this is a white paper right here written by Jay McTighe, who is one of the people behind the Understanding by Design framework, as well as Dave Reese, who's our Chief Academic Officer over here. And they got together and they wrote this white paper about how Define STEM really falls into that same Understanding by Design framework, and how together they can kind of help to reinforce standards-based learning. I know when you hear the term white paper, it inherently kind of conjures up images of a long and tedious read. It's actually a really easy read. It's about 5 or 6 pages long, and they'll just give you some great ideas. If I scroll down on the beginning, on the front of this landing page again, I have a little training area. We have a Define STEM walkthrough. It's about an 8-minute just brief overview of the site. We have a short series of professional development videos. We went to a school out in California that's been using Define STEM, or a district, I should say, and we went in there and we talked to the teachers and the students about how they're using Define STEM in their classroom. There's a brief, the videos are all about maybe 5 to 6 minutes long. There's a video about the 21st century skills. There's one about project-based learning. There's one about performance tasks, and one about our literacy and constructive responses. So those are also some really good resources. So all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and log into the site and start taking you around it. And this is the Define STEM homepage. So this is where you can browse by performance tests, literacy tests, standards, as well as grade band. I'm going to start with our performance tests. Our performance tests they're kind of an alternative form of assessment. You could use it as a culminating unit activity. You can use them as an instructional component. You can also kind of, what it is really is a real-world scenario that students will get involved in. Each task will have between 4 and 6 products with it that students can work with to demonstrate their understanding. So I'm going to click on 6 through 8. And I'm just going to leave all 6 through 8 on there just so you can kind of see what's there. We've got an you can see out of the total for grades 6, 7, and 8, we have a total of 63 performance tasks. Of those 63, 49 will have a math component. All of them, all 63, have a language arts component. 56 have a science component, and 33 have a social studies component. So basically, in our performance tasks, they're cross-curricular in nature. It's very rare that you're going to find one that does not have connections to other subject matters. It doesn't mean that you can't use it solely in your science class. It just means that in the interdisciplinary world we live in, very seldom does content exist alone in a silo. It's always a blending and a melding of ideas and concepts. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down so you can see some of the ideas. Advertising analyst, agriculture consultant, aircraft designer, app developer, real estate, artificial real estate agent, backpack designer. You can kind of see baseball bat analyst, aquatic habitat. And there is one that I'm specifically going to show you. And it's this farm to restaurant entrepreneur, farm to table restaurant entrepreneur. I'm going to click on that. And this is our performance task page. All of our performance tasks are set up in the same fashion. We always start with our understandings or our big ideas, as well as our essential question or questions. And then we go down into what we call our grasp template. We've got our goal, our role, our audience, our situation, and our products. If we take the first letter of each of those, the G, the R, the A, the S, and the P, we have our GRASP acronym, and that is taken right from that Understanding by Design model. So if we click on the goal, that's going to let the student know the outcome of the experience. In this case, your group has decided to open a farm-to-table restaurant in your region. Your task is to help determine all aspects of the restaurant opening, and so on. If we click on the Role tab, that's going to let the student know who they are. It will always be rooted in real life. In this case, part of a group of restaurant entrepreneurs looking to open a restaurant in your region. If I click on this Audience tab, that's going to let the students know who they're speaking to. So much of Common Core critical pieces are always having students presenting or developing products for someone. They're always working towards a specific audience. This becomes really important because we need to know who we're talking to and how to persuade them. If I click on the Situation tab, that kind of provides the conceptual background for the task. And if I click on the Products tab, this is going to let me know what products I can choose to have my students work with so that they can demonstrate their understanding. Every performance task will have between 3 and 8 products to choose from. This one has 5. So we have a proposed menu, design, magazine article, restaurant unveiling, or a Facebook page. Now the reason I wanted to show you this one specifically was because this is a new feature. These videos, these product videos are a new feature that's going on Define STEM. Currently we have all of the videos, and basically I guess, and I'm sorry I'm backpedaling a little bit here, but basically our videos are kind of a visual tool to assist and guide the students and yourself in the creation of each product. Many of the videos will highlight standards and concepts that are addressed in the individual products. They serve as a great kind of a springboard to launching the products. They have some brainstorming tips on how to approach creating them. Some of the feedback that we had gotten from teachers over the last couple of years was that our description, which was originally just this right here, was a little bit too, it didn't have enough tight enough parameters on it for the students, so they wanted a little more guidance. And kind of the goal of project-based learning is to let the students create and go off and do their own, do their own ideas and see what they can come up with. But a lot of the feedback was that the teachers wanted a little bit more guidance, so we've created these product videos which really serve as a guide for you and the students. Right now we currently have all of them done for 4th and 5th grade. 7th grade, this is the only one done for 7th grade. Our team is furiously working to get them all completed, and we should have them all up and running for grades K all the way through 8 by the end of March. But I wanted to show you a minute of this product video, which is why I went to this specific performance task. But before I get there, I just want to show you, here's the description of the task. Here are our standards, so you can see every standard that is aligned with that particular product. And are you guys on Common Core and Next Generation in your state?
No.
South Carolina?
No.
No? Okay, so wait. So now if you guys, is anybody logged in on your side?
On Define STEM?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so just so you know, if you were looking at the standards on your side, it would automatically default to the standards in your particular state. So I'm in Illinois, so it's showing me Common Core and Next Generation. You being in South Carolina, when you look on your side, the system automatically recognizes the state that you are logging in from, and it will default to your own standards. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, here is showing me my math standards, language arts standards. There's some science standards as well here too, and social studies standards on this menu. If I click on the Rubrics tab, that will show me, I know how time-consuming it is to create rubrics. These are available for all of the products within the task. They are also aligned with the standards. And you could use them as it is, or you can edit them in any way that you want. If I click on the video guides, those are our video guides again. And the reason you see two videos here is anytime there's a math component, there's an additional video to address the math component that's going there. But I'm going to show you a minute of this farm to restaurant entrepreneur video just so you can kind of get an idea. Sometimes my sound doesn't work when I have the GoToMeeting on. If you can't hear it, please let me know and we'll stop it, okay? So you can get an idea how they kind of really serve as a good guide. If we scroll down a little bit, this right here, working through a performance task, this is brand new also, and you can see we need to do a little bit of tweaking on that. But what that is it's just a video on the GRASP template, so you can show that to the students so they kind of understand that goal, role, audience, situation, and products, as well as how to develop a problem statement. So those are there as well too. If we scroll down a bit on the lower left side, we have our literacy tasks that are related, whether in subject matter or concept, to the performance task. And then we have our videos right here. And although our videos, they look kind of small, they're actually a pretty integral part of Define STEM. The videos are like little mini documentaries. They're about 3 to 8 minutes long. It's real people with real careers talking about science, technology, engineering, math, how they're using those concepts in their day-to-day professions. Videos also kind of serve as a great hook activity. So you might kind of, as a teacher doing this performance task, you might talk about the big ideas, the essential questions, kind of brainstorm a little bit. Use your video, show a video as kind of that springboard into your performance task as well. The videos also really serve as a great hook activity as well as a contextual activity. So when the kids ask you, when am I ever going to use this? Why do I need to learn this? You can actually show them the application of a science concept through these videos. Any questions on the performance test? I know those are there's a lot to them. No?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go a little bit into the functionality of the site now. We have this little green bar here. It says Perform an Action. You can mark this as a favorite spot, so if you're browsing through the site, you can kind of bookmark the spot, the performance task. You can export this to a PDF or a Word document if you need it. You can see what the student view looks like, and I will show you that in a few minutes. Or you can do a print view if you need to print this up. We also have the ability here to add this to an assignment right now or to edit the task. I'm going to show you real quick how to edit the task. So if I click Edit Task, and I think it's pretty intuitive, but if you click Edit Task, you'll get this little pop-up. And I'm just going to write, let's say, Mr. G's 7th grade science. Let's say 4th period. And I'm going to click Save and Continue. Now this is where you really have the ability to customize your task based on your students' interests, their levels, their abilities. You can change anything that you want so that it's appropriate for your classroom. So, as a 7th grade science teacher, I'm sure you have some students who are working in your classroom at a 7th grade level. I'm also sure you probably have some students who are working possibly at a 5th or 6th grade level or at an 8th or 9th grade level. They're in 7th grade simply because that's their age and that's where they're supposed to be. It certainly doesn't mean they're all performing at that level. So this is where you can really go in and customize it and change anything you need to meet the needs of your students. So you can just click into any of these little text boxes and you can change any of the language, get rid of anything that you want or add anything that you want. If you wanted to upload, say, a graphic organizer or something like that or any other sort of handout, you can upload that file right there. We have our big idea and our essential questions. And anytime you change something, just make sure you hit Save and Continue. Here's that grasp page. So we've got our goal, role, audience, and situation. Again, you can click into any of these text boxes and change anything that you need. save and continue. Here are our products. Now this is where if you want to edit your rubrics, you can edit your rubrics from here. Also, if you want to edit the products, so again, let's say you have a couple different levels of students in your classroom, you might want to change the parameters of a product or what's expected from those kids. So under View Edit Description, you can modify it and change the parameters so it's appropriate for those students who may be struggling. Conversely, you can enhance it or add some requirements to it for those students who are higher achieving, who you expect more from. And if we scroll down, again, we just save and continue. Here are our videos. If you want, you can add a link to like a YouTube video or something right under the video text box. And hit save and continue, and now it's completed. Again, I think it's pretty straightforward. Any questions on the editing function?
No, I think we're good.
Nope. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I want to show you how to assign a task. So I'm going to go back to the home page. And when you're interested in assigning a task, there's two spots you're going to be looking at, your task editor or your assignments. I'm going to click on my task editor. Now your task editor, anytime you copy or edit a task, it will end up in your task editor. So you can almost think of it as kind of a place to queue up your tasks before you are ready to assign them. So here's the one that we were just working on, Farm to Table Restaurant Entrepreneur. And let's say, you're going to be doing this unit. You have it all set. You've edited it. It's perfect for your class. You're just not ready to assign it yet. It's just kind of sitting in your task center. Week goes by, and now you're ready to assign it. So we can just go into our task center, go over to the right here, and click Assign. And we get this pop-up. There it goes. And from here, we can either choose to add this to an existing assignment, or we can create a new one. So I'm going to create a new one. And again, I'm going to write Mr. G's 4th period, 7th grade science. And you would name it, obviously, whatever you want to reflect that. Here I can choose to leave the rubrics on or off, and the same with the exemplars. If I click on the articles here, these are articles to support the performance task. I can choose to leave any of these on or off. So, for example, this one might be too high of a level, so I can turn that off, being a 9th, 10th, 11th CCR, and so on. And to collapse that menu, I just click Articles again. The videos, let's say that we watch this Operating a Restaurant video as a group activity. I can turn that off. And this is where I can pick and choose which products I want my students to work with. So let's say this one had, I think, 5. Let's say, teachers choose the products that they want in a lot of different ways. One way that you might do it is you probably teach the same lesson several times a day. You might assign a different product to each class. Another way you might do it is you might break your class down into groups and assign a different product to each group of students. You also may do this in a cross-curricular fashion. So you might work with maybe your language arts teacher and have them do a magazine article or a Facebook page while you're doing the virtual field trip or the proposed menu. Again, you can work in tandem with your math teacher. Same thing, pick different products. Another way that's really nice to use it is maybe pick 2 or 3 products and let your students choose which ones they want to do. So this is where you can pick and choose which products you want. So let's say that let's say I do not want them to do a podcast. I'm going to turn that one off. And I do not want them to do a magazine article, so I'm going to turn that one off. And in this case, for example, let's say you wanted to leave on, you wanted to do the proposed menu and talk about local foods and organic versus inorganic, or organic foods. In this case, I had mentioned to you earlier, for example, that it has a math component, so it's a math video. As a science teacher, though, you might not want them to have access to that math video for whatever reason. You could just turn that off, and then they would only have the proposed menu video. And again, to collapse that, you just click the little blue bar. And now I'm going to click Add Performance Task Resource. And it tells me I've added it, that it's been successful. So I can close this, and I can go up to my assignments right here. And here is our assignment, Mr. G's 4th period, 7th grade science. And here's our task that we are working with. And if I click where it says click here to edit assignment instructions. I can put in here anything I want to communicate with my students. So I'm going to put due date January 30th. Choose one of the, I think I left 3 products on there, one of the 3 products. And then if I want to assign, I just click assign this, and it gives me 2 ways to assign this. Number 1, I can copy and paste this link into any web page. So a lot of teachers I know have their own websites now. You can just embed that link into your website. The students can go to your website and just click right on that link, and it'll take them immediately to the task or to the assignment. Or if you don't have that, you can have the students go to definestem.com/students and enter the 6-character code. And if you gave them that 6-character code, you would relay that information however you normally relay assignment information. It's no different than writing on the board, read pages 1 through 5. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. And this is the Define STEM student login page. So if you gave them the code, they would enter that code right here and click enter. The students do not need a login or password, which is really nice because it's one less thing for the students to keep track of, as well as, quite frankly, one less thing for you to keep track of. I'm going to paste that link in here because that's actually what I copied. And this is exactly how the students will view it. We have our assignment name, our assigned materials, and our performance task. And if they click on this, you can see this is exactly how they would view it. Our process videos, the understanding graphs, developing the problem statement, our goal, role, audience, and situation. And there's our products. And the videos and the supporting articles. One question that I get right now quite frequently is that how do the students turn in the work? The students do not, you know what, I think what I did is I forgot to hit save, which is why all the products are showing up right now. So sorry about that. But one thing I get a question right now is how do the students turn in their work? Define STEM does not capture any of the students' work. Everything that they do, they would turn into how they normally turn in, whether it's an electronic assignment or whether it's something physical and they're going to be doing something in front of you. Any questions on the student side or assigning tasks? All good? All right, I'm going to log out and go back to the home page. I'm going to log in and I want to show you some of our literacy tasks. And I'm going to click K through 8, or I'm sorry, 6 through 8. But we have literacy tests. We have argumentative or informative. Argumentative, the student takes a side and they can pick, we present a question and the student can take a side based on the research and related content. Our informative literacy test is more like a research paper or technical paper. So if I were to click on here, informative literacy test, adaptations for flower pollination. This is how all the literacy tests are set up with background information on the subject we start with. And then we go into our language prompt, which kind of contextualizes the writing to be completed. Then we have our research resources. It contains periodicals, journals, websites. In the editing function, you can add any additional resources you want or remove any that you don't want. Vocabulary, it's simply language the students are going to find within those provided research resources. We have associated rubrics as well as our standards. Again, it will default to the standards of your state too, and exemplars. If you scroll down, we have the performance tests that are related in concept or subject matter to that literacy test. And then we have our videos right here. Any questions? Again, I think the literacy tests are pretty straightforward. You do have the ability to edit them in any way that you want. All right, the other that I want to show you is our constructor responses. I know you are 7th grade teachers, but I also know that a lot of you may have students in your class who may have some reading issues. So our constructed responses, we do have some for grades 5 and 6. If you take a look at them, they're kind of nice. Generally, there's a constructed response that will go along with the different performance or literacy tasks. So if you have a student who's struggling with their reading skills, you maybe want to give them a constructed response that would be more appropriate to meet their levels. And if you look at it, it's kind of it's a nonfiction passage, and it's more of a mature content. And it's simply a stimulus or a passage followed up by a prompt or a question. We have our targets and our rubrics, as well as our standards. And if I go back to the home page, the last main thing that I want to show you is our standards grid. So I'm going to click 6 through 8. And the standards grid is where you can really get a good overview of everything that Define STEM has. If I click on grade 7, you're going to see the standards across here. Again, it will default to your standards. But you can see every, for example, this is on, let's put it on science. Everywhere where there is a little magnifying glass, there is going to be a product that is aligned with that particular standard. And we can go deeper into the standards just by clicking the little arrow. And I'm just going to collapse that just for simplicity's sake right now so we can look at it. So we can look across and we could see under engineering design, we can do a backpack designer, baseball bat analyst, building an aquatic habitat, and so on. So let's say I wanted to look at that backpack designer. If I click on that, it gives me a brief description of the task. If I look on the products, I can see that actually in this case, all 5 of the products align with that particular standard. A lot of times it might be 1, sometimes it might be 3, but in this case, all of them align with that standard. And if I want to navigate to the task, I just click Navigate to this task, and it will take me right to the task. If I go back, another way that's really nice to use the standards grid is if you are working in a cross-curricular fashion or cross-curricular teams. Let's say as the science teacher, you want this engineering design, and you decide you're going to do the backpack, and you think, well, maybe I can work in tandem with my math teacher. Let's see if there's anything under math. So I can see that with the same backpack designer task, there are some math standards that can be met. You can also maybe work with your language arts teacher, and there's absolutely standards in language arts, and maybe even a social studies teacher. Social studies teacher, we really don't have much for that person right now. But with that one backpack design task, you can work in tandem with your language arts teacher as well as your math teacher. So the kids can maybe really see the connections, between all the different subject matters. Any questions on that standards grid? So, as I'm a former teacher myself, the standards grid I really like. What I would recommend is when you first start browsing through the site and getting into it, I would recommend taking a look at that standards grid. Again, I know if I were in the classroom and I were starting, that's kind of a logical place to kind of start. Look at what kind of standards you want to meet and kind of branch out from there. It's a great way to browse through the site and to see what's there. Another way would be simply to browse through, hang on a second, let's go back to the home page. If I clicked on performance tasks, in your particular case, you could just click off 6 and 8, click filter, and we can see science. We can see that there's 19 different tasks that all that have science components to it. So you can always look that way as well too and kind of browse and see what works for you. If I go back to the home page, a couple little things to show you before we go. If I click on this little silhouette up here, I have the ability to create groups. So you can create a group and invite anybody in your building that you want to join. All those names, any registered users, their names will automatically be populated, and you can send out invitations to create a group to collaborate that way. If someone sends you something, it would show up in your mail. If you click on My Content, there's where your favorites would show up. Also, kind of your recently viewed and your edited. Your assignments, we know what that is. It's where all your assignments show up. And your task editor is anything that you've edited or copied. If I go back to the home page and I scroll down a little bit, can I ask you, do you guys have much of an ELL or ESL population in your building?
Yes.
Okay. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, on the lower left-hand side of every defined STEM page, sorry, I bounced up there, there is this Google Translator toolbar. And if you click on that, you can change the whole site into any of these languages.
That is really cool.
Isn't it? I love that. Also, too, some of our videos, some of our not the process videos, but the other videos will have subtitles in them or captions. So if there's closed captioning, it does change the captions into that language as well. So what do you guys? What's your major other language there? Is it Spanish?
Yes.
So we just click Spanish, and the whole site goes into Spanish. And I know there is a margin of error. Sometimes Google Translator is, too literal. But if you, see something that's off, you can just hold the cursor over it, and you can contribute to a better translation. It's also kind of nice because you can also see what the text says in English. So if you're, if you're a teacher who doesn't speak Spanish, or if you have an aide maybe working with a student, the aide or yourself can hover over it in Spanish and see what it says in English as well too. And you would just click Show Original, and it would get you right back to English. Another thing before I get to our literacy task. Right here at this little silhouette, if we drop down, we can create a group. So if I just click Create Group, it will allow me to name my group, and I click Submit. From there, it will allow me to invite anybody I want. So anybody who is registered in your building or your district, you can pick and choose. As long as they have an account, you can pick and choose who you want to send an invitation to join your group. If you send an invitation, they will find a notification in their mail. And the nice thing about groups, and I'm just going to show you one of mine. Let's do Spring Break Camp. And so I had a couple people in my group, and what I did was I have these resources here. From here, you can click right on the resources. So I might write a note in here, something like, please check out the assignment, the resource I put in here. Sorry, and give me feedback. It's a good post. And that would go out to all the members of the group.
And that's going to appear in that little envelope icon.
Exactly. Now to add a resource to it, I'm going to show you how you would do that. So I'm going to go to my task editor. And remember, my task editor is anywhere that any copies or anything that I've edited is going to be in my task editor. So let's say I want to share this farm-to-table restaurant test. I can go over to the right, and where it says Group Access, I can click on that. And I'm going to share it with that Spring Break Camp. And I'm going to give them the ability to view it or edit it. So now if I go back up to my groups, my Spring Break Camp group, there's that resource right there that they can take a look at. And they can click on it right there and take a look. Now from here, Bo, you had a good point yesterday. I think we were using, for lack of a better name, Mary and John. So let's say Mary shared this performance test with John, and John looks at it and says, you know what, this is great, but for my students, I need to tweak it a little bit, make it, a little different. So John can, from here, go to edit the task and making a copy of this copy that Mary shared with him. So he would just turn it and name it into whatever he wanted. Does that kind of make sense? And then John would have it with his own task, and he could use it appropriately in his classroom so that it meets his kids' needs.
And then that would end John's task editor as his comment.
Right. It would stick with John's account then. Now it would still be in the groups the way that Mary shared it, but he would now have a copy of it on his account. And I think that's kind of something when you guys start playing with it, it'll become a little bit more, right now I know it's kind of abstract when I'm just showing it to you, but I think when you start playing around with it, you'll see exactly how it works. Just X that out.
Where's the show original at?
I'm sorry. Did anybody have any questions? So I know that's a lot of content thrown at you guys all at once. But like I said, I would recommend just kind of start browsing or going through that standards grid. I think is a great spot to go through. Any questions or anything I can assist you with? All good? Okay, so let me know, just in closing, once again, my role is to support the teachers in the schools that have access to Define STEM. Like I said, I'll send Bo an email with all of my information. If he could forward that on to you all. If you have any questions, any needs, or any other teachers in your building have any, want to set up a walkthrough, just send me an email. The best way to reach me is via email. A lot of times I am on trainings like this, so it's hard for me to always answer my phone. But I also do understand when you're working with a website, sometimes it's a lot easier just to talk to somebody for a few minutes. So feel free to send me an email. Let me know if you want to talk for a few minutes. Let me know a good time to reach you and the best number to call you on. If I'm not available, then one of my colleagues will give you a call. Sound good?
Thank you, Julie.
All right, guys. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.